Good morning, friends, and welcome to Worship with Winston-Salem Friends meeting. My name is Cheryl Bridges, and I'll be bringing today's prepared message. Before we do so, as usual, I would like to invite us to gather our hearts and minds and spirits as we enjoy the music from a friend of mine, Joni Hanna, who is an accomplished musician in Winston-Salem. She has given me permission to play here a performance of hers that I've recorded. So thank you, Joni, and enjoy this moment of calm. For the past couple of months, I've invited us into an exploration of the ways Jesus lived out his ministry and how those practices might shape our own lives. First, we looked at how Jesus consistently sought out solitude, not only beginning his ministry with 40 days alone in the wilderness, but almost always seeking out time alone for prayer and for rejuvenation. Last month, we explored the ways Jesus often asked genuinely curious questions of others and of himself, and listened intently for the answers in order to gain greater clarity and understanding and a deeper connection. Today, I would like for us to take a look at how Jesus' commitment to his ministry might also influence our lives. Well, before Jesus was born, there are many passages in the Christian scriptures that point to the role Jesus came to fulfill. Even as a child, he could be found teaching in the synagogue. Near the age of 30, as his ministry began in earnest, he was clearly committed to it. Well, what does it mean to be committed to something? Commitment itself involves a steadfast, resolute sense of purpose. It's a heartfelt promise, a deep devotion to a place, a person, an issue, or even just a way of being. Commitment comes out of our core values and our foundational beliefs. It's the deep sense of who we are. Not all of us are as fortunate as Jesus to have the angels declare that sense of who we are before we're even born, but eventually we come to a place in our lives where we have uncovered or even discovered passions that we want to commit to. What are examples of commitments people make? The first thing that came to my mind was marriage. Even we Quakers celebrate the commitment of people who love each other. On a grand scale, we have the modern day lives of Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa, Gandhi, all who echo the commitment Jesus made to social justice. Countless others commit their lives to issues and concerns like education, government, politics. Even the religious society of Friends would likely not have existed had it not been for the unwavering commitment of the valiant 60 in the late 1700s. Commitments are as wide-ranging and as varied as our human passions are. There are those right here among us who commit their energy and their time to global concerns and local issues such as animal welfare, feeding the hungry, equitable access to water, housing, education, and that's just the top of the list. All of us also have deeply personal commitments that we've made out loud or just simply in our hearts, like the commitment to a relationship or to families. In quiet ways, you might be committed to caring for the earth and its inhabitants. Maybe you're committed to raising conscientious children or operating a business that's successful and compassionate. Our commitments show up in how we act out into the world. How you act at work reflects your commitment of always giving your best. Your friends know you're committed when you keep your promises and show up on time. Staying in school for a study group shows that you're committed to making good grades. Coming to committee meetings and events that your committee sponsors show your dedication to what the committee's work is about. So I'd like for you to take a minute here. You can pause the video and consider what commitments have you made in your life? Fill in this sentence: I am committed to. And see what arises until you've come up with 3 to 5 that you can say are your top priorities. I was actually surprised by my short list, and we'll tap into that in a second. Take a minute now to just come up with a short list. I'll be here when you get done. So, why is it important to know what you're committed to? There are several benefits to acknowledging our commitments, the first of which I think is clarity. Having clarity about what's important to you helps you create a course of action. Knowing exactly what your commitments are can guide your decisions, your choices, and direct your day-to-day, step-by-step path. Imagine that you're a college student with the commitment to becoming a healthcare provider. Standing in your first class on that first day of school and imagining yourself with a patient in front of you, taking good care of them. Well, that may be inspirational, but it would be impossible to learn everything you would need to know on that very first day of school. Thankfully, your commitment is nicely divided into semesters, chapters, and assignments that will help you grow steadily toward your commitment. Clarity can guide you as you consider what is the next best step that you should take for what you're committed to, and then what's the next step after that. Secondly, knowing what you're committed to helps you navigate the choices you'll face as you live out that commitment. If you're committed to the well-being of planet Earth, the choice to purchase either a single-use item or a recyclable, reusable item is very clear. Your commitment helps set the boundaries of what you will and won't do, and it leads you to decisions that are in harmony with what's important to you. There's one thing I'd like for you to consider here, though. As I wrote down my list of key commitments, I realized that one of my 5 major commitments was taking a lot of my energy to the detriment of all the others. So as you explore each individual commitment that you've made, take a minute and look at them together. Are they in balance? Is there harmony between them? Maybe the imbalance is a necessity for where you are in your life right now. You know as well as I do that if you're committed to your own well-being and you're committed to the well-being of your young children, sometimes your own well-being takes a back seat out of necessity when they're sick or something is more needful from them than your own well-being would require. So if the lack of harmony isn't necessary or intentional, consider what are the adjustments you need to make so that all of your commitments together are more equitably aligned. And I would say if you're on a committee or if you're in a relationship, it would be interesting to do the same with everyone's commitments in those groups. It'd be interesting to compare and assess the commitments that you have as compared to your partners or the other members of a committee you're on. Knowing what we're committed to also makes room for new solutions. If you've dedicated yourself to someone or to something, you're way more likely to seek inspired action and to imagine new possibilities rather than giving up when something isn't working well. I love the quotation from Abraham Lincoln. Commitment is what transforms a promise into reality. If you're committed, you're not just going to go through the motions. You're not just going to stay busy for the sake of being busy. You're going to take action that is grounded from that commitment. And you're going to come up with creative solutions that reflect your commitment. You're going to come up with new solutions. A sense of commitment also helps us weather the storms of that commitment. They provide us with a solid foundation to which we can cling when we're being tossed in the tempest. Jesus was rejected almost out of the gate of his ministry, and yet he consistently held to that commitment, even as he was being run out of his own hometown. As Luke tells us, he passed through the midst of his detractors and went on his way, healing the sick, casting out unclean spirits, and preaching. He didn't let naysayers and bad situations distract him from his commitment to his life purpose. In fact, he told the disciples, "Shake off the dust off your sandals and move on." Lastly, commitments help us stay focused and disciplined. I came across this awesome definition of discipline that applies here. Discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most. So if you are committed to weighing your ideal weight, the cookie in front of you versus the well-being of your body will help you choose what's most important. Every decision we make can be guided by our commitments. We can choose what's important rather than going for instant gratification. And we can choose instant gratification because we know we're still committed and we've evaluated what's most important. We're also very familiar with that feeling of being stuck in moving toward a goal or a purpose. That inertia actually comes from a lack of focus on our commitments. Even when the chips are down, even if a baby step is all we can muster at the moment, our commitments will help us maintain focus and discipline as we stay on track. I'd like to leave you with a quote from W.H. Murray. W.H. Murray was a Scottish mountaineer who climbed all of the major peaks around the world. And he was also a prolific author from the mid-1900s. And he understood well the importance of commitments. During World War II, he was taken as a prisoner of war and was a prisoner for 3 years. And while there, he actually wrote his first book on mountaineering on toilet paper. Unfortunately, the Gestapo found his toilet paper book and destroyed it and threatened him with his life if he ever wrote again. But he was committed to sharing what he knew, and he dared to do so. And that book was published when he was freed. In the introduction, as he talks about mountaineering trip that he was planning with others to the Himalayas, and he says, "We had definitely committed ourselves and were halfway out of our ruts. We had put down our passage money, booked a sailing to Bombay. This may sound too simple, but is great in consequence. Until one is committed, there's hesitancy. there's the chance to draw back, and there's always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative, there's one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. The moment that one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. I hope you enjoy the exploration of what you're committed to and how that you, in claiming your commitments, can invite providence into your purpose in life. And so it is. Amen.